Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam to all the Vaishnavas listening to me. Today we'll start from the 12th question of the chapter Philosophy. Before that, let us offer our prayers at the lotus feet of Srila Gurudev and all our previous acharyas. Om Agyantimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshuranmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधकांत नमोस्तुते तद्कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंदा वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितनां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Let us start with the 12th question. 12th question is, what are the 9 conclusions found in the philosophy of Buddhism? Answer is, in the opinion of Buddhists, there are 2 ways of understanding philosophy, Hinayana and Mahayana. There are 9 conclusions for those who travel through these paths. First, the universe is beginningless, therefore godless. Second, the world is false. Third, the sense of I is the only truth. Fourth, reincarnation and the next life are real. Fifth, Lord Buddha is the means of achieving the truth. Sixth, Nirvana is the supreme truth. Seventh, Buddhism is the only philosophical path. Eighth, the Vedas are composed by human beings. Ninth, following religious principles such as compassion is the way of the Buddhists. 13th question is, which well-known foreigners followed the 6 Indian philosophies? Answer is, there is no doubt that philosophical literature originated in India. Although there are many kinds of philosophies, they are grossly divided into 6 categories. These 6 categories of philosophy are known as Saddarshana in India. These 6 philosophies are also widely respected in Greece. Through intensive research, Garbe, who was a professor in Greece, has recently ascertained that Aristotle was the disciple of Gautama's philosophy of Nyaya. Thales was the disciple of Kanada's philosophy of Vasiski. Socrates was the disciple of Jaimini's Mimamsa. Pluto was the disciple of Vyasadeva's Vedanta. Pythagoras was the disciple of Kapila's Sankhya, and Zeno was the disciple of Patanjali's Yoga. 14th question is there any pure spiritual path in the philosophy of Patanjali? Answer is, the state of liberation that was described in the philosophy of Patanjali is a mood of gross and subtle existence, but there is no discussion about spiritual science found in it. 15th question is, what is the position of Yoga Shastras? Answer is, the Yoga Shastra is one of the irrelevant positions found among all irrelevant positions among gross matter and pure spiritual truth. 16th question is, what is the devotional explanation of the Vedic statement of Tat Tvam Asi? Answer is, the Mayavadi commentators say that the Vedic statement Tat Tvam Asi concludes that the Supreme Brahman and the living entities are non-different. The word Tat means he, the word Tvam means you, and the word Asi means are. So, the words Tat Tvam Asi means you are the Supreme Brahman. There is no difference between you and him, but the Vaishnava commentators have given different meanings of the word Tat Tvam Asi. According to them, the word Tat means he who is infallible, and this word has been derived from the word Tatsya, meaning his. Therefore, the word Tattvam Asi means you belong to him. The word Tasya makes the distinction between the Supreme Brahman and the living entities. From this, it is concluded that you are not the Supreme Brahman. 17th question is, do the compilers of the six philosophies accept Lord Vishnu as the Supreme Personality of Godhead? Is Lord Vishnu in the mode of material goodness? Answer is, Jaimini rejected devotional service, which is the purport of the Vedas, and made the Supreme Lord subordinate to karma. Kapila rejected the true purport of the Vedas and declared that material nature is the cause of the material world. Gautama and Kanada stated that the atom is the cause of the material world. In the same way, Mayavadis such as Astavakra said that the impersonal Brahman is the cause of material world. The Raj Yogis headed by Patanjali established their imaginary god to be absolute truth based on their Yoga Shastras. All these acharyas rejected the Supreme Lord who is supported by the Vedas, and they established their own idea of God. After carefully discussing and refuting the opinion of these six philosophers, Sri Vyasadeva compiled Vedanta Sutra, which establishes the supremacy of the Lord. In the opinion of Vedanta, the Supreme Brahman has a Satchidananda form. The impersonalists say that the Supreme Brahman is without qualities and sometimes with material qualities. But actually, the absolute truth is not only transcendental to modes of the material nature, but he is also the source of unlimited spiritual qualities. His body is purely spiritual. According to other philosophers, no one can achieve Vishnu, the supreme cause. In other words, they do not accept Vishnu as the cause of all causes. Yet they endeavor to establish their own opinion by refuting the true authorized conclusion. With that, we finish 32nd chapter and move on to 33rd chapter, which is called Cultural Heritage. First question is, what is the need of history and knowledge of time? Answer is, history and knowledge of time are part of Arthashastra, literature that gives material prosperity. If the people of India discuss history and time with reason and argument, they will be greatly benefited. By this process, they can also make spiritual advancement. By mixing the waves of reasoning in the river of ancient beliefs, moss in the form of illusion will be destroyed, and in due course of time, when the bad smell of infamy is removed from the knowledge of the residents of India, will become healthy. Second question is, who built the temple of Jagannath Puri? Why Puri is called Neelachala or Neelakala? How old is Puri? Answer is, Raja Ananga Bhima erected the temple about 800 years ago in the place of old temple, which was in a state of dilapidation. In old accounts, we find the former temple was called Niladri, the Blue Hill. It appears that the former temple, which was probably built by the eminent Raja Indradyumna, was blue or a dark color. Otherwise, we cannot account for the name Neelakala unless the name was taken from Nilagiri Hills, which is a small range running from the province from one end to the other. The Utkala Khanda in the Puranas, the Niladri Mahodavadhi and the Matlapanji, an account regularly kept by the temple officers, declare that Jagannatha is very ancient deity among the Hindus. Whatever may be the value of the authorities quoted, we are inclined to believe that Puri was considered sacred even at the time when the Puranas were written, because We find in Wilson's copy of Vishnu Purana that Kandu Rasi resorted to a place called Purushottama for the purpose of divine contemplation. In any case, Raja Indradyumna, to whom the whole affair is generally ascribed, lived a long time before Raja Vikramaditya, the contemporary of Augustus, Caesar of Rome. We are sure that Puri is not as old as Banaras or Gaya, which are repeatedly mentioned in all Puranas and Mahabharata, but it is not a place of recent origin, created after the commencement of the Christian era. Third question is, according to modern scholars, how many reigns is the history of India divided into? Answer is, the modern scholars have divided the history of India into 8 periods as illustrated in the following chart. So there is a chart given which is divided into 4 columns. First column is ruling dynasty's name, second is the meaning of the name, third is year's duration of rule, and fourth is beginning date. So the first ruling dynasty's name is Prajapatis, meaning rule of the sages. Years of duration is 50 years and beginning at 4463 BC. Second is Manas, the rule of Swayambhuv, Manu and descendants. 50 years duration of rule and 4413 is the beginning date. Third is demigods, rule of Indra and others, 100 years of duration of rule, 4363 is the beginning date. Fourth and last is Vaivasvata, meaning rule of Vaivasvata and descendants. Years of duration of rule is 3465, beginning at 4263. Fourth question is, when was the Vedas written? Answer is, during the rule of Prajapatis, no scriptures were written. There were only a few pleasing words. In the very beginning, Pranava was manifested. Written scriptures had not yet been introduced. There was only one syllable with Anuswarna added to it to pronounce Om. When the Manas rule began, other syllables like Tat, Sat were introduced. During the rule of the demigods, ancient mantras were composed by joining small words together. The performance of sacrifices began at this time. Gradually, ancient poetic meters like Gayatri appeared. Kaksasa Manu was the 8th generation after Swayambhuva Manu. It is said that Lord Matsya appeared during his reign and delivered the Veda. Perhaps during this time, many poetic meters and verses of the Veda were composed, but they were only in the sound vibration, not written. They were passed on by hearing. After the Veda had remained in this unwritten state for a long time and the number of verses gradually increased, it became difficult to grasp. Then the sages, headed by Katyayana and Aswalayana, composed the sutras of Veda after careful consideration to make memorizing them easier. Still, many other mantras were composed after this. When one Veda became greatly expanded, then Vyasadeva, after duly considering the subjects, divided the Veda into 4 and wrote them in the book form. This took place a few years before King Yudhishthira's reign. Vyasadeva's disciples then divided those works among themselves. Those else who were disciples of Vyasadeva divided the 4 Vedas into different branches so that the people could easily study them. Fifth question is, when was the Ramayana composed? Answer is, although the Ramayana is considered poetry, it is also history. Valmiki Rasi, who was a contemporary of Ramachandra, wrote it. we do not feel that Valmiki alone wrote the current Ramayana. By considering the conversation between Narada and Valmiki and the recitation of the Ramayana in Ramachandra's assembly by Lava and Kusha, it is understood that Valmiki composed many of the verses glorifying the character of Ramachandra in the Ramayana. But after some time, another scholar elaborated on Valmiki's work. I think that the present day Ramayana was completed after the composition of the Mahabharata, because while chastising Jabali, Ramachandra accuses him of being polluted by Sakya philosophy. I believe that present day Ramayana was written around 500 BC. Sixth question is, what is the truth concerning the Mahabharata? Answer is, it is said that Vyasadeva composed the Mahabharata, and there is no objection to this, but it cannot be said that the author of the Mahabharata was the same Vyasa who divided the Vedas and received the title Vedavyasa at the time of Yudhishthira. The reason for this is that in the Mahabharata there are descriptions of kings such as Janamejaya, who ruled after Yudhishthira. There are specific references about Manu scriptures in the Mahabharata. Therefore, the present day Mahabharata must have been written sometime after 1000 BC. It appears that Vedavyasa first made a draft of the Mahabharata and later another Vyasa elaborated on it and presented it under the name Mahabharata. Seventh question is, when was the present Manu Samhita composed? Answer is, Manu Samhita is the first and foremost of all Smritis. There is no evidence that the Manu Samhita was written during the time of Manu. When Manu became a prominent ruler, the Prajapatis had him establish and live in a city called Bharismiti, just outside the Brahmavarta, so that his sons would be a separate class. From that time, the Prajapatis called themselves Brahmanas and accepted the Manus as Kshatriyas. In this way, castes other than Brahmanas were introduced. Manu also gave due respect to the Brahmanas and arranged for the different occupational duties of different castes with the help of Rasis such as Bhrigu. The Rasis approved of Manu's arrangements. At this time, however, the various occupational duties were not written down. Later, when the Brahmanas and Kshatriyas fought, Parshurama appointed someone from the Bhrigu dynasty who knew those arrangements to write everything down in verse. The duties of Vaishyas and Shudras were also included. About 600 years after the battle of Kurukshetra, the present Manu scriptures were written, with the assistance of another Parshurama, whose position was similar to the original Parshurama. Eighth question is, what is the history of Buddhism and Jainism? Answer is, when the philosophy of godless secularism was very prominent in India, when the Vedic literature, which is full of transcendental truths, was accepted only as religious literature, when the mundane Brahmanas promoted secularism as the path of the Vedas, and when such Brahmanas tried to attain sense gratification by performing sacrifices and searching after perpetual happiness and the association of Apsaras in heaven after their death. At that time, Sakyasimha established Buddhism. Becoming dissatisfied with material happiness, Sakyasimha, who was born in the family of Kshatriya, established the philosophy of Buddhism, whose ultimate goal is the happiness of nirvana. There is much evidence that even before Sakyasimha, others preached the philosophy of attaining the happiness of nirvana. However, since the time of Sakyasimha, this philosophy has been widely accepted. The followers of Buddha have accepted him as the original preacher of this philosophy. Before and at the same time as Sakyasimha, a scholar named Jin, born in a Vaisya family, preached a similar philosophy to that of Buddhism. The name of this philosophy was Jainism. Jainism was confined in India. The philosophers of Buddhism, however, crossed the rivers, mountains, and oceans and spread to countries like China, Tatara, Sham, Japan, Burma, and Sri Lanka. Ninth question is, during whose reign were various texts preached? This is given in the form of a table in two columns. First column is the name of the scripture and second column is time when it was preached. Pranava Om, hearing first chords of Shrutis during the reign of Prajapatis. Second is hearing the complete Shruti and Gayatri during the reign of Manus, the demigods, and Vaivasvata. Third, Sutras Shrutis at the beginning of the reign of Vaisvadata. Fourth is Manus Smritis during the second half of the reign of Vaivasvata. 10th question is, when did Shankaracharya appear? Answer is, the holy places of the Aryans were converted into holy places for Buddhists. All signs of Brahmanical scriptures practically disappeared. In the 7th century, when this tragedy no longer tolerable, the Brahmanas became very angry and conspired against to destroy Buddhism. At this time, by providence, the most learned and intelligent Shankaracharya became the commander-in-chief of the Brahmanas in Kashi. By discussing his activities, it appeared that he was an incarnation of Parshurama. 11th question is, how did India benefit from the appearance of Shankaracharya? Answer is, Shankaracharya has to some extent done a favor to India by evicting Buddhism. He helped stop the gradual deterioration of ancient Aryan community. In particular, he changed the course of Aryans' mentality by introducing a new method of thought in their scriptures. He even inspired in them an urge to consider new subjects with their intelligence. 12th question is, when did other civilizations of the world worship Indians as the king, as the giver of punishment, and as the spiritual master? Answer is, when real culture was present at the time, the fame of India was brightly shining like the midday sun. All castes and civilization worshipped the Indians as the king, as the giver of the punishment, and as the spiritual master. The people of Egypt, China, and other countries accepted instructions from Indians with awe and reverence. 13th question is, which is the most ancient country? Which is the oldest civilization? Which is the most ancient religion? And when was that religion at its peak? Answer is, India is the oldest civilized country. The followers of all accept this fact. Even though proud people of the Western countries believe that there is a civilization older than Aryan civilization, the fact will remain true forever. The Aryans first lived in India. This has been proven during the time of Prajapatis, who were the sons of Brahma. Kashyapa was a Prajapati. His grandson was Prahlada, the crest jewel among all the Vaishnavas. Dhruva Maharaj, the grandson of Manu, was also mentioned as a topmost Vaishnava. Among the first sons of Brahma, the four Kumaras and Narada Muni were also great Vaishnavas. Therefore, there is no religion older than Vaishnava Dharma in the world. While increasing gradually, this Vaishnava religion reached its peak and perfection during the time of Mahaprabhu Chaitanya Deva. 14th question is, who taught the process of preserving dead bodies? Why was this process followed? Answer is, in the Chandogya Upanishad, it is the story of Indra and Virokana learning spiritual truth from Prajapati. It clearly states that due to his gross mentality like that of a mlecha, Virochana considered his material body to be himself, and he taught his students how to preserve the body after death. Perhaps according to his teachings, his Egyptian disciples taught the custom of mummifying or preserving dead bodies in their own country. Based on this custom, the system of burying dead bodies was spread to other Mlecca countries. 15th question is, when did keen and powerful intelligence exist in South India? Answer is, from the 7th century, keen and powerful intelligence was found among the people of South India and nowhere else. From that time, Shankaracharya, Sathakopa, Yamunacharya, Ramanuja, Vishnuswami, Madhavacharya, and many other great learned scholars appeared like shining stars in the southern sky. 16th question is, in which philosophy did Vishnuswami, Nimbaditya and Madhavacharya write their Vedanta Sutra commentaries? Answer is, Vishnuswami, Nimbakara and Madhavacharya wrote their own commentaries on Vedanta, following in the footsteps of Shankaracharya. In this way, they introduced slight variations of the Vaishnava principles. 17th question is, when did the authorized Vaishnava Acharyas begin to write commentaries on the four writings such as Vedanta? Answer is, like Shankaracharya, they also wrote commentaries on the Bhagavad Gita, Vishnu Sahasranam and Upanishads. At that time, a thought arose in the hearts of people that one must have commentaries on the four above mentioned works to establish a sampradaya. From these four Vaishnavas, Madhava, Ramanuja, Vishnuswami, Nimbakara, the four Vaishnava sampradayas such as the Sri Sampradaya were introduced. 18th question is, which contemporary and the later associates of Sriman Mahaprabhu preached his philosophy? Answer is, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, with the help of Nityananda and Advaita, clearly explained the truth regarding one's relationship with the Lord. Through Rupa, Sanatan, Jiva, Gopala Bhatt, the two Raghunathan, Ramanand Rai and Swarup Damodar and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he clearly explained the truth of living entities' relationship with the Lord. He strengthened the process of acting in that relationship by establishing the supremacy of performing kirtan. Regarding the goal of life, he ascertained the simple means of relishing the mellows of Vraja. 19th question is, what is the history of the three methods of singing? Manohara Sahi, Granthya and Regati. Answer is, Srinivasacharya Prabhu made Katwa and its adjoining places glorious. His place was under the subdivision of Manohara Sahi. Therefore, the method of singing inaugurated by him was known as Manohar Sahi. Sri Narottam Das was a resident of the village Kheturi, which is in Gaderhata or Gadanhati in the district of Rajasahi. Therefore, the method of singing his songs is known as Garanhati. Sri Shyamananda Prabhu was from Midnapur district. The method of singing his songs is called Regati. To encourage these great singers, Sri Jiva Goswami awarded Srinivasacharya the title Prabhu, Sri Narottam the title Thakura, and Sri Shyamananda the title Prabhu. Sri Jiva Goswami was very magnanimous and saw only good qualities in others. Srinivasacharya Prabhu was a Brahmana and therefore Sri Jiva Goswami had no hesitation in awarding him the title Prabhu. 20th question is, what is the history of Gunaraja Khan or Maladhara Vasu? Answer is, the poet Gunaraja Khan began to write his book Sri Krishna Vijaya in 1395 Saka era and completed it in 1402 Saka era. Although Chandidasa and Vidyapati Thakur composed something in Bengali before this, they did not have They did not compose any poetry. We can only see a few songs composed by them. We have not seen any poetry written in Bengali before 1400 Saka era. As the people of Britain show great respect to Chaucer, similarly we show respect to Gunaraja Khan for his poetry. Any Bengali library is incomplete without the book Sri Krishna Vijaya. Moreover, this book is extremely respected by the devotees. Sri Gunaraja Khan, a most respected Vaishnava, compiled this book as the translation of the 10th and the 11th cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam, the crest jewel among all literature. Therefore, we are unable to describe the wonderful glories of this book here. This book is worshipable by all Vaishnavas. After studying this book, Sri Mahaprabhu glorified it in such a way that it will draw much respect from the Gaudiya Vaishnava society. Not finding any qualified Brahmanas in Bengal, which was polluted by Buddhism, the king of Bengal, Adisura, arranged to bring 5 qualified Brahmanas and 5 qualified Kayasthas from Kanya Kubja. Among those 5 Kayasthas, Dasaratha Vasu, a civilized and simple-minded person, came to Gaudadesha. Sri Gunaraja Khan appeared in that dynasty as the 13th descendant from Dasaratha Vasu. Gunaraja Khan's actual name was Maladhara Basu. The king of Bengal awarded the title Gunaraja Khan to him. He had 14 sons. Among them, the second son, Lakshminatha, was awarded the title Satyaraja Khan. His son, Sri Ramananda Vasu, was an associate of Sriman Mahaprabhu. Ramananda Vasu was thus the 15th descendant from Dasaratha Vasu. After extensive research at the village of Kulina Grama, we have collected this information from the house of Vasus during the winter of 1885. There we discovered that Sri Maladhara Vasu Mahashay was a rich and famous person. By seeing his palace and temple room, it appears that his kingdom was very prosperous. 21st question is, what is the history of Ativadi Sampradaya and Visa Keshana? Answer is, Jagannath Das had a group of followers in Odisha. They were known as Ativadis. By the order of Mahaprabhu, Jagannath Das became a follower of Haridas Thakur. Later, when he gave up pure devotional service and took shelter of Mayavada philosophy, Mahaprabhu rejected him, saying that he was an Ativadi. The sect of Ativadi was expanded like the Bolas of Bengal. The Ativadis have some false literature which states that Lord Chaitanya will manifest again. On this pretext, a few wicked persons began to pose themselves as Chaitanya, Brahma, Baladeva, Krishna, and so on. Having obtained some mystic power, an impostor named Vishakishna began to promote himself as Mahavishnu. He and his followers constructed a temple in the jungle 2 miles from Sardaipur. It was written on the beds of the followers of Ativadi that Mahavishnu, Visakeshana, remains incognito, and on 14th March he will manifest himself and display his 4 arms of Mahavishnu. As soon as this news spread, many Brahmana women began to serve him, neglecting the prohibition of their husbands. When some illicit affairs began between Vishakeshana and the wives of Chaudharis of Bhangarapura surfaced, then the people of Bhangarapura reported this to the revered Walton Sahib, who was the commissioner of Bhangarapura. He advised me to go to the jungle and investigate the matter. I went there at night, and after a long conversation with that Mahavishnu, I concluded that he was determined to destroy the British rule. After returning to Puri, the trial of Mahavishnu began in my court. After a long trial and hearing, I awarded him the punishment of 1.5 years. When his matter hair was cut His worshippers and followers abandoned him as a cheater. 22nd question is, what brief information did Sri Bhaktivinoda Thakur give regarding Sri Mayapur, the birthplace of Sri Gaurasundara? Answer is, after carefully researching and going through various authentic books such as Sri Chaitanya Bhagavata, we have discovered many places of the Lord's pastimes. We have resolved to gradually find all the places of Lord's pastimes for the pleasure of the devotees. First, we are locating the exact place of Mahaprabhu's village. Sri Kavi Karnapura has written that the land of Navadvipa is surrounded by the Ganges. This is also mentioned in Tantras. The actual name of river Khadia, which flows by Goyadi and mixes with the Ganges near Swarupganj, is Bagdevi or Jalangi. Long ago, the river Bagdevi flowed by the village Harispura, and after mixing with the river Mandakini, it flowed near Devapalli. Thereafter, touching the city of Bhaluka, this river mixed with the Ganges near Goyalpada. When the Mandakini portion of the Ganges dried up, the Bagdevi reached the Ganges while flowing by the side of Mayapur. Because of the confluence of Bagdevi and the Ganges, many parts of Sri Mayapur was destroyed. At that time, the homeless learned Brahmanas of Mayapur took Sri Pradhamaya and Vridha Siva across the Ganges to the village Kulia, which is the present-day city of Navadvipa. In this village, there are no places of Mahaprabhu's pastimes. However, this place is the forest of Vrindavana within Navdeep. The map that we have provided in the book Sri Navadvipa Dhama Mahatmya shows that there is a chakra in the middle. The entire tract of land which covers this chakra is called Antardvipa. Only two tiny portions of land have extended to the other side of the Ganges. During the time of Sri Mahaprabhu, Mayapura village was certainly the home of learned Brahmanas, but because of the movement of river Bagdevi, it has been almost become ruined. Only one portion of Mayapura is inhabited by human beings. This portion is situated in the southern corner of Balaladigi. After intensive research and according to some confidential hint, we have been able to locate the exact stream of the Ganges. A long stream called Sivera Doba or the pond of Siva near Khadwana, which lies to the south of Mayapur, is still present. If one stands on the bank of this stream and looks towards Ganganagara, one can see that a tract of land resembling the bank of river is by the side of Mayapur. Let us consider the exact location that we find in the description of Sri Vrindavan Das Thakur. In Nadia, Lord Gauranga first went through the road that led to the Ganges while he danced. He came to his own bathing ghat, and after dancing for a long time he went to Madhai's Ghat. From there Gaurahari went to Barakona Ghat, and then he went to Nagariya Ghat. From there the Lord went to Simulia through Ganganagara. Now the point is, if one walks to the bank of Ganges, Barakona Ghat and Nagariya Ghat are not very far. The Nagariya Ghat was situated near the main market in ancient Nadia. In addition, this market was situated on the western side of Balaladigi. There is no doubt that if the devotees search for Sri Mayapur, the birthplace of Mahaprabhu, and his places of pastimes, after carefully considering all these topics, they will certainly find those places. The Vaishnavas who live in the cottages on the alluvial land of Kulia do not endeavor to know anything in this regard. Hence, the visiting devotees face so much difficulty. With this, we complete today's session. My sincere obeisances at the lotus feet of Srila Gurudev and the divine couple Sri Sri Radha Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.